Oh, I love that music. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in. It's 1TS Daily live right here at One True Sport. How's it going? Good morning. It's Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. I'm your host, Zack Heydorn from Brass Ring Media and Sports Illustrated. Pumped to be here and glad to have you here with me. Man, what a few days. What a few days in professional wrestling. Wild, wild, wild. It kind of feels like we're back to normal now. I feel like, you got past the Raw Netflix premiere, you got past The Rock on NXT last night, and now tonight we just have an episode of Dynamite, a fun episode of Dynamite, and an important episode of Dynamite. And I will tell you all why that is in just a little bit. Thank you to everybody who is watching on YouTube right now. Appreciate you guys. Welcome on into the show. If you're watching on Twitter X, welcome on in as well. Thank you for being here. If you can do me a favor and hit like, that'd be a big help. Helps us with the word algorithm. Helps us out with the algorithm, and I'd appreciate it. This is 1TS Daily. We are live right here every single morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, on the One True Sport YouTube channel to just have a quick chat about all the happenings in professional wrestling, get you ready for the day, recap the prior day, and get you on your way. So we're normally 25-ish minutes here, 30 maybe, depending on what's going on. But yeah, try to make it snackable and something you guys can kind of engage with right out of the gate. Yesterday, on the Brass Ring Media podcast that I do, and all the Brass Ring Media podcasts are now on the One True Sport YouTube channel live. All right, so you can't miss anything there. But me and Tyler Sage, we broke down Monday Night Raw long form, almost 90 minutes of breaking down that show. So if you haven't checked that out, I hope you do. You can check it out now, right? On the YouTube page right here, or you can also download our shows as audio podcasts. And so you can head to your favorite podcast app, just search Brass Ring Media, and you can get all of the Brass Ring Media live shows as audio podcasts. So hopefully you check it out. It was a really fun show to do. It was, we had a lot to talk about. We had a great live audience yesterday that was, really vibrant and asking questions and making comments. So it was a blast. So check it out if you haven't done so already. Speaking of that, the live chat is open, and we've got folks joining us right now. The boss is in there. The boss says, good morning. It's cold out here. Yeah, I don't know where here is for you, boss, but here it's freezing. Normally, I like to take the dog for a walk to our unofficial sponsor. Hey, Starbucks is the unofficial sponsor of 1TS Daily. Now, here's the thing. Normally, I take the dog for a long walk to said Starbucks in the morning. Today, man, the dog, I don't know if the dog loved this because she was cold. She was cold too, but we got in the car. We got in the car, we drove over there because it was so darn cold. So I am with you, boss. It was cold, and it is cold. Eddie's in our chat. Eddie says, good morning. What's going on, Eddie? E is here talking about The Rock. So we only get The Rock final boss when people complain on the internet. Oh, well, kind of. Or maybe. But we're right. Yeah, lots to get to there. So here's what we're going to do. The live chat's open, you guys. So you guys can jump on in there and start debating, start asking questions. I will keep an eye on that and try to get to as many comments there as I possibly can. If you are able and willing to make a contribution with a super chat, I will make sure that I get to those questions or comments. If you want to talk about a specific topic, or if you want to just in general, just like say, hey, I've got a question, and ask it, do that, and I'll make sure to get to it. But yeah, so we're gonna recap last night's episode of NXT, and then we're going to preview this tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite, and then after that, there are some news elements that I think we need to discuss, and then that'll be it for Wednesday's show. It's gonna fly by, I promise you. It's gonna fly by. So, all right, last night's episode of NXT. Now, here's the thing. I thought it was a pretty good episode of the show. And there's some folks. It was a New Year's Evil kind of edition of NXT television. So it was like a bigger than usual episode of the show anyway. But even bigger once you say that The Rock is going to be on the show. And that was like the big hook. So I am so curious to find out what kind of viewership this did, because The Rock's The Rock. But I didn't think he had a great appearance on the Netflix Raw. And so like I don't know if he's going to be able to attract a lot of viewers because of that. But we'll see. We'll see if he can, like, I don't know, it'd be something else if he could uptick the viewership into the millions. I doubt it, but it's Rock, so you never know. But let's run through the thoughts here. So the first match of the night was the women's championship, the NXT Women's Championship. Roxanne Perez defending against Julia. Julia beats Roxanne Perez to become the new NXT Women's Champion. Now, this match, I thought, I don't know, it was kind of short. Did anybody else think this was short? Like, hands up in the chat, because I don't know. I thought it was like short, too short for a women's title match, and especially a women's title match with a women's title change. I don't know. You've got Julia, you've got Roxanne Perez. Clearly, I think this is the end of Roxanne Perez's run in NXT. She goes to the main roster, but it's like, don't you want to show off your new talents a little bit? And so let Julia go out there and do her thing. The match was just a little north of 11 minutes, according to ProWrestling.net. So it's like, okay. I mean, it wasn't a bad match, but it wasn't like kind of like a classic, let's set the table to get Julia, really off to a hot start with her world title. So if you were looking for like a big epic match, you didn't get it, but you do now have Julia as the NXT Women's Champion. This is the right move. She is the correct person to kind of be the flag bearer of that brand in the women's division. She's not going to be long for NXT. Neither is Stephanie McCure. There's a crop of talent down there that are going to get called up quick. So you got to go with them quick in NXT. And I think I'll have similar comments about another title match, that happened later in the show. So to me, this was the absolute right move. Now, as Christopher Leclerc says in the live chat here, Roxanne Perez will get a rematch. That's one option. You can do that. Or you can just have Roxanne Perez go to the main roster and have that be the end. But either way, she is on her last legs here as an NXT talent. But fun to see Julia become the NXT Women's Champion. All right, from there, we had let's see, match number 2 was Stephanie McCure versus Kalani Jordan versus Cora Jade versus Lola Vice. It's a fatal 4-way match. The winner becomes the number 1 contender for the Women's North American Championship. In this match, Stephanie McCure won, and so she is now number 1 contender. The champion, Fallon Henley. So that's interesting. McCure I see as somebody who is destined for the world title on the main roster. So it's interesting to see her kind of not be relegated to the North American Championship division, but on that level for right now. Because when you look out at like big NXT shows that are coming up, you're looking at WrestleMania weekend. What big women's match can they do WrestleMania weekend? Well, you could do Stephanie McCure against Julia. And to me, like, you don't put the title on Stephanie McCure, the North American title, but that means you got to beat her. So that's questionable. That's questionable. So I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning for this was, but we'll see. But either way, McCure is the number 1 contender, and we don't know when that title match is gonna happen. Number 3, Gigi Dolan Shotzi and Tatum Paxley fought Fatal Influence, who is JC Jane, Jasmine Nix, and Fallon Henley, who we just spoke about. You had Shotzi, Gigi Dolan, and Tatum Paxley win that match. Baby faces win here. They kind of get their comeuppance. This is a little feud that's been going on for quite some time. So, yes, the Women's North American champion kind of lost here, and Shotzi pinned her to win. But, it's a multi-person match. I don't think you can read too much into it, other than the fact that Shotzi clearly is going to be getting the title shot at some point as well. So they're lining up challengers for Fallon Henley. Another reason why I don't think they're gonna do, Stephanie Vicure beating Fallon Henley. Just seems a little odd. All right, so from there we got Ava, who berated Ethan Page for just destroying Javon Evans. And Rock and Ethan Page ended up having a little bit of a confrontation. This was good. This was good. Rock kind of put over Javon Evans and said, and said for Page to kind of watch his back, because Evans is going to want to get some comeuppance. But then on the flip side of that, he also told Ethan Page to come to him for advice if he needed it. So once again, Rock kind of playing both sides, and I don't know if it's working. If you want to get more insight into Rock in WWE right now, you can watch yesterday's 1TS Daily, because we got into it a lot. And this on NXT, it was like an extension of the appearance on Raw, where it's like you have The Rock, but he's not really acting like The Rock. And I guess he does so a little bit later in the show when he's cutting the promo. But either way, it's not it's not Rock that you've known and love, and it's not Rock in the narrative of WWE as of yet. More on that in a little bit. All right, Charlie Dempsey then fought Lexis King for the NXT Heritage Cup. Lexis King gets his first title win. He wins the match. He beats Dempsey and becomes the NXT Heritage Cup champion. So I don't know. Lexis King is a character that I just constantly roll my eyes at. What is he? What and who is Lexis King? He kind of comes out on that throne, and he's a little arrogant, but I find it very difficult to connect with Lexis King, no matter what he's doing, whether he's working as a heel, whether he's working as a babyface. It doesn't matter. Either way, he just, I don't know. There's something missing there in terms of him connecting with the crowd. And maybe this Heritage Cup will work. I thought the match was fine, totally fine. I thought the match was absolutely a suitable television match on NXT. But there is a ceiling on Lexis King right now, because he just can't, there's just not that connection. And I think he really, he needs one. He needs one. All right, and then we had Trick Williams versus Obafemi for the NXT Championship. Remember, earlier in the show, Eddie Thorpe was kind of taken out, and so he was supposed to be a part of this match, but then wasn't because he got taken out. So it was just a singles match: Trick Williams versus Obafemi for the NXT Championship. In the match, Obafemi beat Trick Williams and Eddie Thorpe, who came out later to become the new NXT champion. So we have a new NXT champion. That's wild. And Obafemi beat Trick with it. He did not beat Eddie Thorpe. He beat Trick Williams. Wild. This was unexpected, and also tells me that Trick Williams is not long for NXT either. When you do a title change like this in this kind of situation with all the big shows that you have coming up, it tells me that there's other plans. There's other plans for other guys involved, and Trick Williams is a key guy. I mean, he's a key guy. He's a guy who has some good momentum in NXT, and you got to get him to the main roster. You don't want him to like wear out his welcome in NXT. You want him to kind of go to the main roster with a little bit of momentum. I think he has that here, and you got to put the title on Obafemi, which, hey, he was a great NXT North American champion. I think he's come a lot into his own as a talker, as a worker. I think he's a good face of the NXT brand right now, and so it's a smart call, as Christopher says here in the chat. First time in history, both Iron Survivor Challenge winners won the title. Yeah, interesting. Good looking out, Christopher. Appreciate that, man. So yeah, Obafemi's the champion, and I think you're going to get you're going to get a rematch here. You're going to get Trick Williams versus Obafemi in a singles match, I'm sure, before Trick Williams goes up to the main roster. But I don't see Trick winning the title again. And he's had a weird little title run for as much momentum as he has, and for as over as he is as a babyface. His title runs were kind of choppy. He won the title from Carmelo Hayes and lost it soon after last year to Ethan Page. He got it back on the premiere of NXT on the CW network, which was just a handful of months ago, and now he's lost it again. So he hasn't had like that long babyface run. When you think about NXT champions, though, the title does change hands more often, which makes sense because you've got guys that's developmental, and you want to get your guys ready, and when they're ready, you move them up. That's what's happening with Trick Williams here. He's ready. He's ready to go. Yes, and Boss is correct. Trick did beat Ilya Dragunov as well. So I'm interested to see where it goes. And how long they keep Trick down there. Does he chase the title all the way? And you do a big, Trick Williams winning the championship again match against Obafemi at Stand and Deliver WrestleMania weekend? Or is there another talent? Because that's the real issue. Like, if Trick goes to the main roster, who's behind him to kind of chase down Obafemi? Like, what's the big match in the men's division now that Trick's gone? Like, that's a real tough question to answer. In the women's division, not that tough. There's that division is stocked with top talents. But the men's, it's a bit of a barren wasteland. Like, I just don't know who they have to come in and have a big match with Obafemi at any point, let alone WrestleMania weekend, where you're going to have a lot of eyes on your product. So they gotta create some new stars. I mean, is it Eddie Thorpe? I don't think so. I think Eddie Thorpe's a really strong talent. I think he's got a lot of upside and a lot of potential, but I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's ready for that spot yet. Tony D'Angelo, they've already done that. They've already done Obafemi versus D'Angelo. So, you're not like, what's the point in kind of playing that back? And after that, like, geez, it falls off a cliff. So they need to get some stars built in NXT in the men's division for Oba. And maybe because they don't have them, Trick, maybe he pulls double duty. Maybe he debuts on SmackDown or Raw, and also comes down to NXT to kind of hold down the fort. A lot of angles, a lot of ways they could go, but the bottom line is Obafemi's the champion, and they have to get him some opponents. And then you had The Rock come out, and he came out final boss mode. Final boss mode. The crowd popped big for him. He did the goosebumps thing again. Like, Rock was the same Rock. He was the same Rock from Monday. I mean, he kind of flexed a little bit, and and said that, hey, he's going to take you on a ride and just enjoy it. And so it leads you to think that there might be something else. There might be something else there, but this was just to get The Rock on TV. That's it. That's all it was, and that's disappointing. But hey, the only possibility here is that you read into what Rock said. There is something afoot with him, and maybe he is factoring into plans. I don't think so, but that's the only positive you can take away. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a bad appearance, right? It was fun. The crowd loved it. Rock's over. All that stuff. True. But you just want a little more when you have this guy on your TV, and they didn't, and they didn't. That's NXT. And so next week, another big episode, right? We're regular again, not on the road. They'll be back in the Performance Center. So we got that to look forward to. All right. Once again, guys, live chat's open. Super chats are open. If you want to get in there, go ahead. We'll preview NXT here. Or NXT. We'll preview AEW Dynamite tonight on TBS and on Max. They're streaming too. Don't let WWE get all the credit. This is what we got going on tonight. We got the men's casino gauntlet match. The winner is going to get an AEW World Championship match. Tony Storm versus Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander in a triple threat. Will Ospreay against Buddy Matthews. Bobby Lashley against Mark Briscoe. MJF is going to appear. And then we have the return of Kenny Omega. And that's the big story. That's the big story here, guys. Kenny Omega had a tremendous match against Gabe Kidd at Wrestle Dynasty. Really good, emotional comeback match. And the only thing that I could think as I was watching that match, especially near the end, was all plans have to be changed in AEW to accommodate Kenny Omega. Whatever it is that you got to do to get Omega front and center of that company as the biggest star and the top guy, that's what you do. You don't let him play in the background. You don't let him kind of hide away and, do Kenny Omega things and have great Kenny Omega matches in the middle of the card. That's over. It's over. It's time to get some business out of Kenny. He saw that he can do it. He cut good promos heading up to the Wrestle Dynasty show. He's got to pull that in AEW. We've not seen that New Japan Kenny Omega in AEW yet. Match quality? Yes, we've seen that. But the guy with the star presence and the star power, we haven't seen that guy yet. It's time. It's time. Kenny Omega has had health problems. He's over the age of 40. He's had a lot of wear and tear on his body for wrestling the style that he does and for the longevity that he's had. You got to get what you can out of him right now. Right damn now. Has to happen. It makes no other sense any other way. Go and do Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. Do Kenny Omega versus Okada in Texas Stadium. The roadmap is there. But the thing that's been missing from AEW is like strong, top-tier babyface talent. And Tony Khan has not been able to take advantage of guys who have gotten some momentum and get them to the next level. Guys like Swerve. He got up there, but not to the next level. Will Ospreay, he got up there, but not to the next level. Adam Page, same thing. Don't let that happen again. Don't let that happen again. Building a successful wrestling company is about putting your top guys in top positions, treat them like top stars, and enhancing their star power. And Tony Khan's not been able to do that. MJF, same thing. They all kind of get up there and fizzle. And you got to try to go with Omega here. And that means he beats everybody for 9 months. So be it. People want to see Omega right now. It's the time to go with him. So we'll see. We'll see what kind of booking he gets tonight. We'll see what he has to say. But the way I'm judging this as, hey, what does Kenny Omega's promo, how does it position him in the company? How does it position him for AEW? That's how I'm judging it, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow. MJF's going to appear too, so you have that. So some kind of promo there, I'm sure. I just hope that we're past anything that has to do with MJF and Adam Cole. That thing is ice freaking cold. Move on. Let it go. Let it go, as Elsa would say, or sing, I guess. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And then, the rest of the card pretty much is just good matches. Will Ospreay versus Buddy Matthews. Sure, I'm sure that's there to get Will Ospreay, a win after kind of a week of losing. Lashley versus Briscoe, same thing. You want to get Lashley a W. Tony Storm versus Willow versus Chris Statlander. That's a little bit more interesting, but I think obviously Tony Storm wins that one. And then the real question is who wins that men's casino gauntlet. And I say this all the time about multiple big battle royal type stuff with AEW. You gotta put the top stars in it for it to make any sense. This can't be okay, the mid-carders all shooting for a title shot, because it doesn't really matter. I want to see Adam Copeland in this, or Cope in this. I want to see Adam Page in it. I want to see Jay White in it. Swerve Strickland, all those guys. You got to have your top guys in something like this with the world title shot on the line. So we'll see who's in it. I think Copeland's going to win this. I think Copeland's going to win this, and I think he's going to get his title shot against Jon Moxley. That would be my guess. I think that's the smartest way to go, unless Kenny is going to enter, in which case give him the win. Give him the match with Moxley and go there with it. So that's my take and my rant on AEW Dynamite tonight. We will talk all about it. We'll break it down tomorrow right here on 1TS Daily. All right, couple news stories here that I want to hit. Nikki Bella kind of addressed her time. Her time on Raw and what the future might be, and this is aggregated from Sports Illustrated. She says here, as everyone knows, the one thing about my family, whether it's a business family or your actual family, there is always at some point a rocky road. That's life. It happens, and emotions happen. We had that rocky road with WWE. The one thing, as I've grown over the past few years and have continued to work on myself, I realized times where I've made outbursts out of emotions that I probably shouldn't have done. And then there are times where I can recognize that I felt hurt and I wanted to be heard, but it probably wasn't the right thing to do. She said, I felt all these emotions because I felt at home and was so happy to be home. Then to be so accepted and loved felt so incredible. She's talking about her return to WWE on this week's episode of Raw. It felt so incredible because things were rocky, and there's nothing better than when you have that moment of making up and knowing the bond is so strong, because it is pretty much like blood and we are family and will always be connected. Later on, she says, all is well. We've all made up. And then she says here, will we ever see the Bella Twins back? It's a good question. I just may be here looking for my competition soon. So stay tuned. So she's leaving the door open for a potential return. She famously kind of had a falling out with WWE. Looks like she's back in the fold, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Nikki Bella is not going to be somebody that has epic matches anymore, especially with the talent that WWE has. But either way, she's a kind of a legacy star for a specific era in WWE, and I think it's good for her to be there. Also, big news coming out of yesterday: Becky Lynch signed a new contract with WWE. That's reported by Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful. She is back with a contract, so no AEW run. No surprise there. I mean, she's locked into WWE. She's a top star in the biggest wrestling company in the world. Doesn't make a lot of sense for her to pivot on that one and join somewhere else. So we'll see. We will see what we'll see when she returns. The report indicates that she doesn't have plans for WrestleMania yet. They don't have plans for her return yet either. But once she's back, they're clearly, gonna factor her in. And again, that's all per Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful. All right, guys, there you have it. 1TS Daily in the books for Wednesday, January 8th. Been a blast. Thanks so much to everybody who joined live. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, E. Thanks, Boss. Thanks, Christopher, and everybody else who was in the live chat. I appreciate you all. Once again, make sure to check out our work at Brass Ring Media. We have our YouTube channel where we have some exclusive content. Head over there and subscribe there, totally free. All of our written content, too, takes place in our Brass Ring Media newsletter that goes out every day. You can subscribe on Substack to get that. That's my work and the team. Really proud of the work we do on Substack. Our written work, I think, I'd put up against anybody's. So check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Brass Ring Media on Substack. Cool. Tomorrow we'll be back. We'll talk AEW Dynamite. We'll talk all the news of the day and so much more. This is 1TS Daily live on One True Sport. I'm Zack Heydorn. Have a great Wednesday. We'll talk to y'all real soon. See ya.